All right, so last day I jumped the gun a little bit getting into the products. That's part of your assignment, so I shouldn't have done that one anyway. But so we're going to undo this whole scaffolding that we created for our products. And then we'll do some other things with the model first. So we can right-click and say run the Rails generator. And we run the destroy. Oh, this is interesting. All right, sorry, it's not in the generator. It's the command we want to run is Rails destroy scaffold, and then the name of our model that we created, which in this case was product. So we want to run a Rails script called destroy, and the arguments are going to be I want to destroy the scaffold, and the particular one I want to destroy is the product. That doesn't work. Look at that. So I don't know why. Let's do it in a DOS window. In my, got to find the right directory. So here's my, no. Where's my, sorry guys, lecture, should be there. So yes, I'm in the wrong directory. That's Rails, lecture. So here's my Rails directory. And let's run it from here. Rails, destroy, scaffold, product. That better work. So there must not be a nice way in RubyMine. I'll have to look at that to do that. So what this did was it now deleted all of that data that we created automatically through the generator. It deleted all these files. Okay, all these files were gone. Now in this case, it also deleted my migration file, which modified my database. So my database still has the product data in it that I had created yesterday or last day. So since I'm early in production here, I can just delete my database. If I was later and I had all this other migrations in here, I wouldn't want to do that because then I would lose all my data. So I would need to run a command in the migration tool to reset the last product back a level, and that basically does a delete table on the product table, and then I would run this destroy scaffold, which would delete all the files. But I'd have to do that downgrade of the migration first, otherwise I'd lose that file. But now, since I'm in here and that's the only thing I had in my database, I can just go to my database and delete my file. I'm just going to delete my development.sqlite 3. So it's gone. All right, so now my products should be gone. Let's resync my project with what's on the disk. And these should be gone. They are. They're just not showing up in here. So there they go. They're gone now. It's just a refreshing problem. So now my products are gone. My product views are gone. The tests are gone. Everything that I generated automatically is gone from my project. All right, so now we can start over. And let's play around with the models first. I jumped the gun in getting to the scaffolding. I wanted to play around with the model because that's the only piece we haven't looked at in the model view controller. And the model deals with what? Data. The data, right? Our database table. It's our layer between Rails and whatever database we're using. So it uses a computer sciencey term called ORM, which is Object Relational Mapping, which creates a Ruby object that represents the table that's in my SQL database. So I don't have to write any SQL commands at all. I can just manipulate everything in a model class, a Ruby class, and set properties and destroy properties, and the back-end Rails takes those commands, converts them into SQL, and executes them on my table. So I don't have to know a lick of SQL to do most everything in Rails. I still can do SQL if I want to do some complex things, but most of the time, 95% of the time, I don't have to do any SQL commands at all. So let's generate just a model instead of the whole scaffolding. So I'm going to say run Rails generator, and I want to generate a model. And we use the same things that I did in the scaffolding. So I'm going to call this people. People's never a good one. Let's use people. And we give it the fields that we want. And remember when we created our own classes in Ruby, that we created these accessors, right? And we might have had a type for those. So this is going to generate that stuff automatically for us. And in addition, it's going to create a table, a SQL table, on the disk, in this case using SQLite 3, for each of these columns. So I give it the name of my column. So I might have first name, and we want that to be a string, right? And I might have last name, and I want that to be a string, and maybe their age is going to be a number, an integer, sorry. And I don't know, hair color is going to be a string. So each of these key value pairs are the name of the column and the type of the column that it's going to be. That directly relates to some type of a database structure. People is the name of the table. So that's the name of my model that's going to be there. Let's see if this actually works. All right, so now I've got a model that it created for me and some tests. The model is stored, surprisingly, in the model folder as people.rb. All right, so that is my model that represents my table in the database. And I can do stuff with my people class. So this is a class that represents all of the data from this particular table. And it also created this migration, which we saw last day, where I have a table called people, and I have a first name and a last name that are both strings. I have an age that's integer, and a hair color that's a string. Can you modify that right there? I could, yes, I could. Is there something special you have to do or just copy? No. I could, if I forgot one here, I could just copy and paste this and call this a different value, whatever. I don't know what else we have. Blood type. Blood type, all right. Blood type, and so it's probably going to be a string then. All right, and so I can modify it before I do the migration. Once I run the migration, it's going to copy this and actually create the table on the disk. So once I've done that, to make modifications is a little more difficult, but we'll do that later. So let's run this rake task. Remember, there was a rake task that let me actually execute this file, and it's in the DB domain. I want to say DB migrate. Right? That migrates to the database. What that does is it basically executes this code. It'll create a new database for me in my DB folder because it didn't have one before. If I already had one, it would just create a new table in that, and it created a table called people. All right? Any questions on that? All right, so my model hasn't changed. My model inherits, remember it inherits from this active record Rails code, all written in Ruby, that gives me all kinds of methods associated with this people class. It's a module, right? Active record module in the base class. All right, so to look at the model itself, we can run something similar to IRB. Remember IRB? I played around a lot in that. Under the tools, I can run the Rails console. Okay, so run the Rails console. And we can choose what environment. I want the development environment, which is default. That's what I want. And what this does is it opens up an IRB type interface that I can do stuff with. So I could do simple Ruby expressions like a equals 10, a dot times do puts hello, and it's just like I was in IRB. The difference is that it's also loaded the entire Rails environment into this IRB console. So I can now look at people, and people is a class, and this class has an ID associated with it that was automatically generated by Rails, because every record in my database needs an ID, right? Then it has my first name as a string. What the heck was that? And my last name as a string, and my age as an integer, etc. So those are the fields in my people database. In addition, it created these two timestamps, the date it was created and the date it was updated.
So people as a class, those different items, the first name, whatever, are they methods?
They are methods. You can think of them as methods, yes. They are properties of the people class. In reality, they are methods, yes. The method then will go and get the data from a particular people and return that data for you, all right? So I don't have any records. I could say people.all, and it says, it actually does the SQL command for me, and it says, okay, load me the people, select from my people table all of the fields, from my people table. That's basically what it's saying, right? Select everything, select star from people. That would be the same thing. So in this case, it didn't do anything because I have no people in my database. So I got nothing back, right? I've got nothing.
I'm thinking somebody needs a SQL refresher.
Yeah, probably. That's all it does. It just gets me all the people, all the records from the people table. So I need to create some people. So I can say people.create, and I can pass it some information like the first name, it wants to be Dave as a string. My last name wants to be, well, you can use, let me mix them just so you get really confused, is going to be Jones. And this is the new way of writing hash key value pairs. This is the old way of writing the hash key value pairs. They work exactly the same. It's a key and a value. I like this old way just because I'm old. But let's add the rest of our stuff. I'm going to have an age, which is going to be old. And my blood type is going to be, I don't know, O positive. All right? Now, let's not set my hair color, and the rest of these are going to be created for me automatically. So when I do that creation, it says, it does a transaction, and this is what it actually created as the SQL. Insert into my people table these values, these fields, and these are the values. All right? And it does it nicely so that you can't do SQL injection as easily. So that whole SQL statement gets executed on the table. And notice how it created and updated that for me automatically. So now I should have some people in my people table. I can say people.all now, and it says, there is some people, and it returns to me what type of data? An array of persons, right? An array of people objects. So each element in my array is a people object, a person object, right? A people object. So I can say, I can store that, right? I can say, give me the first person, we'll call it person, is give me the first people. And that says that people will go out and do the SQL command to get the first one. See, it does an order by, and it does a limit one, right? Order by ID, ascending, limit one, gives me the first record in my people table. So now person is what type of an object? It's a people object that, see, there's no array around it. And remember when we did like a person.inspect? This is the data that I have. These are all essentially properties of my person object, my people object. So I can do something like this, person.first name. I can get back the data from that person. Isn't that great? I could say, what is my person.age? It's an integer, gives me back 51. Isn't that cool? So say I had a birthday, I could say person.age plus equals 1. And now to save that, that's all done in memory. Remember, we had to save this data. To save that, I can just say person.save. And that does a transaction doing a SQL command, and you see the update people set age at this, updated at, changes my updated at field automatically for me, and sets this data in the database. And now if I look at my person, he's got an age of 52. Isn't that great? And doing the save, saved it back to the disk. So now it's stored in the database itself. Isn't that cool? Uh-huh.
And, it matches the month that it currently is. So, you could basically run a Ruby Ruby method to, display happy birthday.
Sure, absolutely. Yep, we can do anything with our people here. So let's create a new person. So we say people.create, and we pass it his first name. Oh, wait, let's look at our person.hair color. And it doesn't have any hair color, right? I didn't set that, so the value of that is nil. So I can set his hair color now. I could say person.hair color equals gray. And then to save it to the disk again, I would save it to the disk. It sets his hair color, and now my person has a hair color of gray. All right. Now notice I have yet to write any SQL commands, but I'm doing all the same types of things, but I'm doing it with my class instead. That's just sweet. I don't have to worry about any SQL tables. It's cool. All right? So let's create a new one. So we say people.create, and his first name is going to be Sally, and his last name is going to be Smith, and his age going to be 21, and his blood type, let's not set the blood type or anything, and that should be enough for this person. Creates it. Now that is created and saved to the disk. So every time I do this, it shows me the sequel. And if there was an error, it would have rolled back the transaction so that didn't actually get saved to the disk. So I don't have to worry about if I had an error, it would have still not saved it to the drive, to the database. Now I can say people.count. How many people do I have in my table? Well, there are 2. So it did the command for me to go query the database to find out how many people there are. Sweet. Yes? I can say people.all, and I get an array of people objects, and I'm going to have 1 and 2 objects. Okay, 2 different elements in my array. Any questions on that?
When you call person, you have to specify which one.
Well, yeah, person was Dave. That was always Dave. I might have a new one called Sally, which is, it's just a variable. People.last. That gives me the last one, which happens to be Sally. So Sally is here, and person was just a variable name. So to make it easier, I'll call Dave as person. So Dave is first guy, Sally is second guy. Okay? Does that make sense? Make better sense?
So if you did people.last, it's going to give you Sally.
Right.
Unless you change that.
Unless I added a third person. Then the third person would be the last guy I get. It goes by record ID here.
Okay.
Right? So you can just see that from the select command. Select everything, order it by the ID in descending order, and give me the first one off of that.
So if you try to create a person with the wrong data type,
Yeah, so let's do create, and we'll call it in this case, 21 could be converted into a string, so it's fine. It doesn't care about that, which is interesting.
You turn the wrong method name like iColor.
Yeah, that might be better. So let's create first name as Steve and their age as Steve. Because of Steve. So I need to do it like this. His name has actually got to be quoted, right? Because it's a string. So it allows it, it's just that his age is going to be converted into an integer, which is 1. And a number converting into an ID is fine. But going the other way, you're going to get 0. So it works just like you did a get from the command line or something like that. All right, so now I've got 4 people. All right, so I can do things like give me the 4th person. And it creates all of these nice little, hopefully it still does, these nice little methods that let me find different information by the column names. All right. So I want to find all of the people that have hair color of gray. All right. So find by hair color that is gray, and it gives me and finds me, does a lookup where people.haircolor equals gray. Isn't that great? Because I did a find by. There's also a find all by. And in that case, it returns an array. See the difference? And it doesn't have a limit on the select statement. And I get an array which happens to only contain one value.
So without the all, it just gives you the first one.
Right. First one it finds. Right. So it creates all of these convenience methods so that I can do queries on my database by just knowing the names of my table columns. So I can say people.find and give it, I want the third record. That gives me by ID. So that gives me the record whose ID is 3, which happens to be this guy that was half created. So there's all kinds of methods that I can execute on this people class where the active record interface does all the SQL commands for me. I don't have to do anything. All right, so let's delete this 3. Let's destroy record 3. And it says, okay, find it where the ID is 3, delete, and commit the transaction. So now if I look at my people, I should only have 3 left. All right, and I've got, sorry?
So that's how you filter the products?
Yep. So now I've got 3 records, 3 different people in my class. Sweet, eh? Yes?
Why do you have to save when you create someone new, but you don't have to do a save any other time?
I did do a save every time I modified it in memory. If I changed my age for my Dave guy here, I then saved it, and it saved it to the disk.
But I mean, like after the destroy and stuff, it just...
The destroy automatically, see, it did the delete from the table directly.
It seems like that...
So there's no saving.
You have to save is after you just maybe accidentally destroyed something.
No, there's no accidentally destroying. It's gone. If you destroy it, just like if you did the SQL command on a database, it's gone. You do a destroy, delete from, it's gone. There's no turning back. All right, any questions on this? Now this console is just really useful for looking at the data and even doing some cleanup of data and things like that. I can do all kinds of stuff inside of here. So the up arrow works just like in IRB. Gives me the last commands. I can cycle through them. If I started something and I said, give me the person.first, and then go, darn it, I wanted to have that in a variable so I can do something with that, I can say A equals underscore. The underscore says execute the last command, which happened to be people.first. And so now A is my first person. So those are 2 commands I use a lot. A equals underscore. Something I need to set. Say I created this long query. I don't want to retype it. I can just say A equals underscore. Right? Any questions on this? All right. So the nice thing about this is that when I'm writing code now, I don't have to do any SQL commands, right? So in my people class, in my model, I can write my own methods which modify the data in some way. So maybe I want to say, write a method called full name. All right? And I'm going to add that to my people class. And I want to say, I want to return the value of my first name plus maybe a space plus their last name. Right? So let's rerun my, every time I make a change to the model, I have to reload my console. So now I should be able to say A equals people.first and A.firstname a dot full name. Sweet, huh? I've just added a method on my person, my people object that gives me more information. So now my full name, I don't need to store that in my database. I just added a method that I could use in my ERB. I could use it anywhere I want to display that information for the user. Isn't that nice? Nice stuff. I could have another one, describe, which would be something like, let's take all of this stuff. Actually, let's do it using interpolation. Be a little faster. So first name, last name is, come on, age, years old, and is hair color. Right? So that's a nice little description about this person. And I can now do this in my console. And it says, I don't know what that is. So let's, sometimes, at least this did not work in 3.1, 3.2 very well. I can do a reload bang. And it's supposed to reload the environment again for me so that I could do something like A is my first person, and I can do a.describe. There we go. It's working. Yay! So it pulls all of that information from this particular A variable. So what type of variable is A? Why does it do that? It's a person object, people object, so I can do people-y type stuff with it. And I've added more functionality that I don't have to store in my database, but now I can use that a.describe anywhere in my ERB as I'm describing their profile or something, the user that came into my site. Isn't that just sweet? Nothing. This is next week's stuff, right? We've already done enough that you can do the product stuff. This is getting into the models where we will now create scaffolding that uses this information, and we'll be able to modify and get the data and display it on the screen. All right? Yep. Why wouldn't I? I could, right? I could just say, give me my full name is, and that's a method which will return this. So let's see if that works. So we'll do a reload since I modified my model. Look at that. Works perfectly. That's exactly what I would do. Much drier. All right. So now that we have a model, we can take that model and display it on the screen. We can start to use the rest of Rails to pull from this database and display it on the screen. So what part of the MVC do I need first? What gets the first data from the user? Controller. Okay, so let's create a new controller. We can say new generator, and I want a controller, and we'll call it people. And let's add some action names. Remember, this is an action name for maybe index. All right? And it's going to generate my people controller. So I have a people controller with an index action, and I also have the view for that. All right? So in my index controller, now that I have people, I can set an instance variable to say, find me all of my people from my database. So what command that I did in the console gave me all of my people? People.all. Perfect. All right, so that sets an instance variable that is then available in my view. So I go to my view, and let's just do this, at people.inspect, and see what I get. Let's make sure that it added it to my routes. It did. So I have a route to people/index. That was generated by the controller. So I can go to people. It's not going to work because, first of all, my server is not running. So let's run my server. And second of all, most likely my proxy is bad. So yep.
Which is pretty much the same time every day.
I know. All right, so I got a nice little error. I have a people index, so I have to go to people/index. Let's see what that should do it automatically, but it doesn't. There we go. Beautiful. So I have a problem where I had added some stuff to my nav. See my nav, where I was able to get to my products. So I need to go fix that. Let's take that out of my nav. That's in my shared folder nav. Let's just delete my products. Gone. All right, so there's my people. Notice it's an array. I'm doing an inspect. So I get an array of people objects. And those are all the guys that I created in the console. All right? Isn't that great? So since it's an array, how would I loop through that information and display each person?
You can do a .each.
.each, yay, you remember. So in my code here, instead of inspecting, I can do a people.each do, and I have a person as a singular, right? And I have an end. And then inside of this, I want to print out a list of all my people. So this is going to be person dot whatever I want. I can start to describe him. Let's just print out my describe function that I created. All right, and then let's put a break tag after each guy. So let's go reload this. Nice.
Oh, because some of the fields were nil.
They are. Some of them are nil.
So you could probably run a statement in the middle of that. If is nil, then string equals just a space.
Right. So I can say if person, then do my person.describe all on one line. That should work. What is wrong with this? I have an end. Then end. All right, so that's all on one line. That's a little easier in ERB. See, much better. Isn't that better? Same error.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, remember, this is the local variable for iterating through. So in this case, it is person. This could be Dave. It doesn't matter.
Well, I think some of them have pages missing.
Yeah, but my people class, if this is nil, it'll just put a nil there.
Yeah, but you can't change a nil into a string.
It does though. That'll print it as nothing. That should be fine. Let's try that. Oh, much better. Great. So, interesting. Let's just print person.first name. Person.first name. Let's see if that prints out something. There we go. Yeah, it is. It's an array because I defined it in my controller. This is an array variable where it went out and got all of my people. You were napping then? All right, so person.first name works fine. Something is wrong with my... yeah, I know that, but if I just print out age, it's not person.nil. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I'll have to think about that one. That should work. So now I'm printing out just their first names, and so that's working fine because I had a first name on everybody. So I printed all three of their first names. Isn't that great? So with just a little bit of code, I could print out, and this should work like this. I could print out all kinds of attributes of my people from my people table. Sweet. Right? Any questions on that? So then I could continue to add more information. I could add a form that took the data and laid out the information so that I could edit these people from a web page, create new people from a web page, delete people from the table. I can do all of the CRUD necessary to deal with my person model, my people model, just by creating more views and more actions in my controller here. Like I might create a delete action, and that would go through and do the delete people.destroy based on the ID that person wanted to delete, etc. So we'll do that. We'll do that tomorrow, where we'll go from this now into scaffolding. All right, any questions? And I'm not going to do products. I'm going to do something completely different, like movies, so that you guys won't be confused. Make you have to write your own code. All right. No questions?